Kakadosh, Boker Or, Masechet, Bava Metzia Daf Pebet Amud Aleph, 82a. But we're going to have to start on the two dots on 81b. Hilvau ala mashkon. If a person is going to lend out on a mashkon, yeah, so he says like this, Shomer Sachar, so he becomes a Shomer Sachar. So Lema Matzniti, why don't we just say that our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Eliezer? The Tanya was going to Rabbi Malvet Chavero ala mashkon, v'avad mashkon yishava. What does that mean? If you're going to lend out money on a mashkon, so imagine you come and say here, and then what happens is that it gets lost. So you have to swear. You told Ma'otav, and then you get your right, you get your money back. Which means that you're going to swear that obviously that there was no pshia involved. Because if you were negligent, obviously, you give me your watch, right? Right? You give me the watch. So now all of a sudden it gets lost. So I have to swear that I was negligent. If I was negligent, obviously I'm going to have to pay for the mashkon. But if I wasn't negligent, so then I swear and I take my money. These are the words of Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Akiva omed, yachol lomar lo, you could say, klumi v'telen lo mashkon. Avad mashkon, avdu ma'otecha. He says, no, I apologize. If I gave you a mashkon, the mashkon is instead of the money. And therefore, if you lost the mashkon, you lost your money. What does that have to do with me? Well, you're going to also take my mashkon and also take my money. Since when? But if he lent him 1,000 zuz in a shtar, yeah, and then, right, what happens is, yeah, he comes and he says, what happens is he leaves a mashkon on them, so therefore he says, according to everybody, meaning for sure that he's going to lose a why, because since there's a shtar, for sure he put the mashkon that it should be mizuman to get back from the shtar, from the chov. So therefore it comes out that the fact that you lost the mashkon, you lost your money. Meaning that the collateral was instead of the money. Because if I gave you the money, it means that if I wasn't going to come up with extra money, the money that I left you was going to pay off the debt. So for now, you lost that money. Listen, you lost your money. That was your debt. Okay? So says the Gemara, no, afilu tema Rabbi Eliezer, even if you're going to say it's Rabbi Eliezer, question, kam mishkeno b'shat alva'ato, kam mishkeno b'shat alva'ato. It all depends when the mashkon was done, during the time of the halva'ah, or not during the time of the halva'ah. So he comes and he says, but afterwards. What does that mean? Only if it's a mashkon that was taken b'shat alva'ah, does Rabbi Eliezer hold that it's only taken as a zikaron for the chof. And therefore the malveh, right, is only going to be a shomer chinam. And that's what we're talking about. But if it was going to be taken by Bedin, just in case it's not going to pay out, so then it was considered kilu taken as a debt, and therefore it's going to be a shomer sachar. And therefore, obviously, if it gets lost or stolen, so therefore that's it. He has to actually pay up on it, and therefore he's going to lose his money. Okay? So says the Gemara,
there is no sound.
So says the Gemara, we're talking about, it's the same lashon. I mean, what are you telling me now that, no, one of them was talking about that you got the mashkon later on by the bedin, or you got the mashkon from the beginning? It's the exact same thing. What's the difference? Ela barader la kashia, not a question. Kan shilvau maot, kan shilvau perot. There's a difference between halva'a on money and halva'a on fruits. That's what he's saying. There's going to be a difference. Okay? So says the Gemara, the Hamed Iktani Seifa. What about the Seifa? Rabbi Yudah says, Hilvau ma'ot, shomer chinam. Hilvau perot, shomer sachar. If you lend him money, so then it's going to be kama shomer chinam on it. But if you're going to lend him perot al mashkon, it's going to be shomer sachar. So it's mashma that according to Tanakama, right, it doesn't matter what it is, what you're giving. At the end of it, it's going to be shomer sachar. So says the Gemara, no. Kula Rabbi Yudahi. The entire Mishnah is Rabbi Yudah. The Chasurim Echzera V'Achitani. We're lacking part of it, and this is what we have to learn. Hilvau ala mashkon. Right? If you're going to be malveh ala mashkon, you're going to become a shomer sachar. But when are these words? Shilvau perot. When you're going to be malveh perot. But hilvau ma'ot. But if you're going to lend out ma'ot, you're going to be a shomer chinam. Rabbi Yudah Omer, because Rabbi Yudah says hilvau ma'ot, shomer chinam. Hilvau perot, shomer sachar. If you're going to lend out money, you're going to be a shomer chinam. If you're going to lend out perot, you're going to be a shomer sachar. So says the Gemara, if so, Kama lamatnit in the Rabbi Akiva. So our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Akiva, because he said that the malveh al mashkon is like a shomer sachar. Now, if our Mishnah is about stam, so obviously it's not like Rabbi Akiva, because therefore, you should have said it. Yeah, you should have said this. So he comes and he says, like this. He says, Ela machvarta matid lo Rabbi Eliezer. But rather you have to say that our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Eliezer. Okay? Fine. Lema b'delo shave meshkon shiuzuze. We're going to say that maybe because the mashkon was not equal to the halva'ah, and therefore it's a machloket within Shmuel. Meaning until here, what we were talking about, we never spoke about that the mashkon is exactly equal to the halva'ah. So he says, so why don't we just say that's the case? And therefore they're arguing in Shmuel. The Amar Shmuel says, Hi man di Yosfe alfa zuz lechaber. Imagine right now, you come and you lend out 1,000 zuz. Now he puts a mashkon on it. Avad kata de magala. Now if you lose, right, the yadit of this magal, avdu alf zuz, you lost 1,000 zuz. Even if it's not going to be shaveh the entire chov, right? You're going to tell me now he loses the entire thing. So says the Gemara, if it wasn't worth it, the Shmuel, that nobody argue, everyone agrees that we don't have the halachot of Shmuel. But here, by the shaveh shir zuze, we're talking about the machloket is that it is shaveh, the shir of zuz. The kamipalge, but the Rabbi Yitzchak, the machloket is the Rabbi Yitzchak. The Amar Rabbi Yitzchak says Rabbi Yitzchak, minayin lebalchov shekone mashkon. How do we know that when you have a balchov that it's going to be kone mashkon? Shneimar ulchat tzedakah. What does that mean? If you're not going to acquire the mashkon, how do you know that it's going to be considered tzedakah? So So for here, we're going to learn that a balchov is going to be koneh a mashkon. So says the Gemara, v'tizbira. Are you going to tell me that it's logical to say that? I'm going to say that Yitzchak says that only if you put it as a mashkon, not at the time of the alva. But if you did do it at the time of the alva, Niyamar, do you say such a thing? Do you remember we already made a differentiation whether it was done during the time of alva and not during the time of the alva? So he comes and he says, Ela barada, if he gave the mashkon not at the time of the alva, everybody holds of Rabbi Yitzchak. But here, it's at the same time. Again, here we're talking about the Yura Shomer Aveda. Right? What does that mean? He comes and he says, it was stated, Shomer Aveda, Rabba Amar Shomer Chinam. Which means this. If right now you find the lost object, now you're in charge of the lost object, what do you consider? A shomer chinam or shomer sachar? That's the question. Right? You found a lost object. What do you consider now? Shomer sachar or shomer chinam? That's the question. Okay? So why? Because technically you do lose out, you do gain in the fact that when you're being osek in one mitzvah, you're patur from another mitzvah. So, for example, you're taking care of this lost object, and an ani comes to you. You could tell him, "Listen, I apologize. I'm busy. I'm taking care of this lost object. I'm running around from one place to another place. He doesn't have to give him money, so he's gaining in the fact that he's being shomer on the aveda. So maybe he's a shomer sachar, or do you say no? The really be'emet, he's a shomer chinam. Yeah. So he says. But osek b'mitzvah patur mitzvah even if he has the time. The fact that I'm busy doing a mitzvah, I don't have to preoccupy myself with something else. By the way, that's what happens also during Kriyat Shema. Do you know that they have to do it because in Eretz Yisrael it was very, very, rampant. That during Tfilot, the Shulachim used to come in and bother everybody. You're in the middle of Kriyat Shema. What are you bothering me in the middle of Kriyat Shema? Don't bother me. After Shachrit, right? We're during Asher Uva Letzion, during Kaweh, whatever it is. Come and ask whatever you want, but not during Kriyat Shema. So they had to put up signs all over the place. Right? Why? You're osek b'mitzvah. How long does it take to give tzedakah to an ani? You put your hand in a pocket here. No, I'm in the middle of doing a mitzvah. I don't need to take care of other things. Understand? Even if you have time to do both, or you could even stop for 10 seconds. No, you're doing a mitzvah. Put the other one away. I don't need to take care of the other one. So says the Gemara, Lema Rav Yosef Tanaihi. Why don't we just say that this is my Rav Yosef is actually going to be a machloket tanaim, right? That does Rabbi Eliezer hold like him or not? So says the Gemara, no. Beshomer Aveda, in the Shita of Shomer Aveda, the Chule Alma It Lehud Rav Yosef. Whether Rabbi Akiva or Rabbi Eliezer, they all hold of Rav Yosef, that since he becomes Shomer Mitzvah B'Shmirat Aveda, he's achrai the what? That he's like a Shomer Sachar. Right? But over here, Bebet Amubet, B'Malveh, Tzarich LaMashkon Kamipalgeh. We're talking about a Malveh, which needs a Mashkon. So more Savar, more holds Mitzvah Kavi, that he's doing a Mitzvah. Shilvahu, that he lent him the money. Kavi Shomer Sachar. The more Savar, another one holds La Mitzvah Kavi, he's not doing a Mitzvah. Shelanato Mitkaven. He has Kavanah for the Hana'ah. The Havi Shomer Chinam. Therefore, it's going to be considered a Shomer Chinam. Abba Shaul Omer, Abba Shaul says, Mutar la'adam laskir mashkono la'ani, liot pochet ve'olech. He comes and he says, it's permitted to be maskir, a mashkono v'ani, in order to come into, you remember we spoke about this case already, which means, let's say the ani comes and he gives me a mashkon. I could come and rent out the mashkon, and then that money, I will deduct it from that which he owes me. You remember that? We spoke about that case, right? Which means, that for example, whatever it is, he gives me a phone. So that's a mashkon. I rent out the phone, and now every single time that I get the rent of the phone, I'm deducting it from the what he owes me. So Amar Chanan Baram Mishmuel Alachazak Bashaul. Ve'af Bashaul Amar Ela B'Mara Pasal V'Kardom Oil V'Nafish Agrayu V'Zutar Pechatayu. He says he's talking about only, for example, a matzad. Matzad is like whether it's an axe or a what? Hoe? Yeah, a hoe or an axe. These are different things, utensils for using. Why? Because basically you have a lot of money for the rent and very little value, very little of depreciation value, which means it doesn't go down a lot in value. So therefore, that's what you could be able to come and rent out. There shouldn't be a problem. Mishnah pe bet amubet says the Mishnah, Hamavir chavim makom ushvara. Imagine a person is passing one chavit from one place to another place, and then it breaks. Ben shomer chinam ben shomer sachar. Doesn't matter whether he's going to be a shomer chinam or shomer sachar. Yishava. He has to swear that it wasn't pshia, and then he's going to be batur. Rabbi Elazar says, Ze veze yishava, right? Whether it's a shomer chinam or shomer sachar, he's going to swear there was no pshia. He says, but I'm going to be, how are they going to become a patur, right? By making a shavua that there was no pshia. I'm astonished. So how could that happen, right? But okay, let's see what it says over here. The Gemara is going to explain exactly what's the question. Yeah, Tara Rabbanan, we learned to the Braita. Amavir chavit lechavro mimakom makom ushvara ben shomer chinam ben shomer sachar yishava. He's going to swear. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says shomer chinam yishava. A shomer chinam is going to swear. No says sachar yishalem. A shomer sachar he has to pay. Rabbi Elazar says ze veze yishava. They both have to swear. V'tamei ani im yicholin zelazar. But I'm going to be astonished. So he says, what does that mean exactly? What do you mean that you're going to? So he says, lememra the tzavara Rabbi Meir nitkala poshel. Are you going to tell me that if it breaks, he's not considered a poshea? But Tanya, we learned in the right. Nishbera kado velo silko. If right now, let's say a jug breaks in the Reshut Rabim and you didn't take it away, and all of a sudden, or nafla gemalov lamida, right? The gamal fell and you didn't pick it up. Rabbi Meir says you're going to be chayav in the zek. Chachamim say you're going to be patur midinei adam, chayav midinei shamayim. Vekaimalan. So we paskin to be nitkal poshea plige, that it's a machloket whether nitkal is considered, right, a poshea or not. So therefore, if it's going to be a machlok, whether it's going to be considered poshea, so therefore he says the second Braita is saying that it's going to be considered poshea. So here it is poshea then. If you come and you broke the chavit, however it was, it's called the negligence. Amar Rabbi Elazar says, Rabbi Elazar Tavra, you're right. It's whoever taught this Braita did not teach the other Braita, which means, because if not, then you have a machloket, a stida, is somebody that bumps into something, is that considered negligence or not? So you cannot teach both braitas. According to one, it is. According to but you cannot teach both of them together, because if not, you have a problem. So Rabbi Yehuda comes to say, "Shomer chinam yishava noseh sachar yishalem." What does that mean? Each one according to the halacha, which means, right, that he comes and he says like this. He says the first one, shomer chinam, is going to be patur from gneva v'avada. The second one, which is a shomer sachar, is going to be chayav in gneva v'avada. So therefore, obviously, that's what he's saying over here. There's going to be a difference between them. The Rabbi Elazar lemeimar, and therefore Elazar comes to teach you, and right in yes, The Gemara Zaka b'Meir, but I'm astonished they could actually make. How could they come and exempt themselves from this pshia? In the sense, Shomer Chinam is going to swear that there was no pshia involved, but a Shomer Sachar, why does he have to swear? Even if he doesn't have pshia, he still has to pay. Meaning, a Shomer Sachar, even without pshia, you still have to pay. So if you still have to pay by a Shomer Sachar, what do I care now that you have to swear? Swear about what? Even if it wasn't pshia, you still have to pay. So what do you have to swear? Even a Shomer Chinam also, Hatenach bimkom midron. I only understand if it's going to be like a slope, and therefore, right, it's like almost like an ones. But if it was a straight road, right, Shalom, can he do that? That he wasn't pshia? For sure it was pshia. Why? Well, he's a klutz, right? Bumping into things. Yeah, that's like somebody that just falls asleep and all of a sudden just bumps into things. It's not going to exempt him. Well, because he has a Tesla, he thinks that he could just continue coming and driving and doing whatever he wants. No, pshia, negligence. Yeah, he has to wake up. Okay. Exactly. Yeah, so that's what we're going to say now. Okay.